What's up, hockey fans? This is Randip Janda, and welcome to Inside the Game on Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi. And this week, we've got a very special guest, a member of the community, the South Asian hockey community, Harry Mahesh of the Abbotsford Canucks, assistant coach. And these Abbey Canucks right now are absolutely rolling in the Western Conference Final. They took out Tucson, they took out Coachella, they took out Colorado. They've got the Texas Stars next. But first up, Harry, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here
Yeah,
and
I just
excited for the
rattle off
game.
the names. Your guys are taking care of teams right now. Give us a sense of what's the vibe in the room right now. You know, yourself, obviously the assistant coach, but with Manuel Malhotra and the crew right now on the ice, it just feels like everything's clicking.
Yeah, obviously, having to play that first extra kind of best of three series against Tucson kind of got the ball rolling for us. But I think we kind of needed that early little test to really get into that playoff mentality. We're the only team of the four left who had to play that best of three. So we're a confident group. We've played 12 playoff games now. We've had some tight games. We've won on the road. So I think all in all, all three series is really kind of built to our game and our confidence. We've been in a lot of different situations and been able to come out on top.
Well, you've had a few elimination games as well, where it's a do or die type of situation. When you're a player, you can control it. When you're a coach, you can't step on the ice, you can't execute for the players. Like, what does that feel like? Even that game against Colorado, where sure you won by a pretty healthy margin, but early on that game, there's chances both ways. Like, what does that feel like as a coach?
You know what? I can say there's times where you're nervous and you're anxious, but with this group, and I know I speak for, the other coaches as well, like we just believe in this group and we can feed off their emotion. And when you could tell the players are confident, there's no sense in us getting anxious. And that was kind of my feeling towards that. I looked at our group and I said, we've been able to do this, the last 3 months really coming through when it counted. So my energy and my confidence just kind of reflected what I knew the players were feeling, and that made it for a little bit of an easier day.
Well, looking back at your playing days as well, I'm sure you felt that in that room, but like as you got a pretty unique mix. You've got young players that Vancouver Canucks fans will know, whether it's the Lekkerimäkis of the world, the Victor Mancinis, go through up and down the list. But then you've also got a pretty unique mix of veteran players, whether it's a Sammy Blais, Jujhar Khaira, go through the list of players. What kind of environment has that created in the room? Because I imagine having, a little bit of everything certainly helps the room and gets them. You have players that have kind of experienced everything in the game, and some guys that are seeing it for the first time.
Well, it's funny you said that. Yeah, we do have a little bit of everything, and when you look at our lineup, it's extremely balanced. So I think the mix of like veteran and young guys, and different roles guys play in the team, we just have a really connected group in terms of one through four, or all six of our D, our goalies, like everybody's contributing on different nights. We look at our lineup and we know any given night, one of those lines could be the best night. And we've seen it throughout the playoffs where different guys have stepped up. And whether it's been a young guy or a veteran guy, we never really have to rely on one person. And it's kind of by committee. So sometimes that young energy feeds in with like that veteran experience. And right now it just feels like kind of that perfect blend.
Well, okay, we both know Jujhar. Calling him an old guy makes it doesn't make any sense. He's 30 years old, but he's got 300 games in the NHL. He's a veteran. You guys added him to your team later on in the season. What has he meant and his experience meant to your squad? Obviously, for our Punjabi audience as well as a Surrey boy, Punjabi kid, means a lot. But what has he meant to your room?
Well, to the room, it's invaluable. You have a guy like that who's I think he's got the most experience in the NHL, and he's just extremely calm. You know what I mean? It's in the way he carries himself. He's prepares every day. He's on the trainer's table. He's getting work done. He's very detailed in his process and preparation. I think that's just great for young guys to see the amount of time he puts into getting ready each day, and then on the ice. We joke as a staff, like we just call him, he's the dad out there. He can just calm everything down. So, you look at his stature as a player, he makes everybody feel bigger and stronger and safer out there. He doesn't say much in that sense, but there's a presence to him that I think we needed when he came in. It was just somebody who could, not to say that, we had a lot of skill and not to say we were getting pushed around, but if it was something we could kind of bolster, we wanted to, and then him coming in has just been a calming presence where now other teams kind of think twice before they want to kind of engage in anything. So we've been able to use our skill, but now we've really been adding to the layer that add that layer of physicality to our game. So it's been again like a perfect blend him coming in.
Yeah, he's a bit of a big brother kind of walking in and just making a little bit everybody a little bit more confident. On that note, though, with Arshdeep Bains, obviously local kid, has a similar path to the game. Do you think it's been maybe made setting an example for Arsh as well? You've got one guy that's a local kid that's played 300 games in the NHL and saying, hey, this is kind of if you want to play in the show, and if you want to, there's certain habits you have to have, and just a good example around the room as well for a guy that's getting started.
Yeah, exactly. And I know growing up, Arsh had mentioned, he'd kind of watched and obviously known of Juge before his career took off. So it's nice, I don't you never see them directly talk, but it's nice to have somebody who's been in your shoes now in your dressing room and kind of lead by example. And Arsh is he's a pro through and through. So the two of them together, it's been a good mix. And yeah, it's nice having two guys like that on the team. And obviously for our community, it's even a little bit better.
Well, that's at the player level, but you're going through your very first, playoff run in your very first pro hockey season on the bench as well. So, going from essentially, coaching a season, which is, every night, or maybe you've got a back-to-back, but you're not making those adjustments the same way you're making in the playoffs, where you have to solve a team or you're going home and it's the end of the season. What has this playoffs meant for you personally as a coach, just in terms of game planning and getting ready for the next game and those elimination games?
It's been good. It's been a challenge, especially, when you're looking at power plays and stuff like that. Like some nights you're not getting a lot of power plays. So in terms of adjustments, you're not really sure, if you have enough, data there to either change something or keep something going. So for me, it's been nice because our personnel hasn't changed a lot. And, in the regular season, you're mixing and matching with call-ups and injuries, but we've been fortunate down the stretch that we've been able to utilize, similar units. So at this point, you're just relying on guys to build that chemistry, go back and, you're kind of letting the players play and we give them some structure and we give them some keys. But for me, it's just giving them little bits of information, some tendencies, and then, it's going to be game 84 for us. Like we say, just go play, So it's just reminding them of, the things that we've been successful in and just finding different ways to maybe exploit things different teams give up, and whether it's 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, and every night it's one adjustment, and whichever team's going to make it first, and whichever team's going to execute. So for me, it's been nice just to see kind of the chess match teams play with each other and being on one side of it and kind of seeing what they're doing in terms of game plan changes. So it's fun. It keeps you on your toes as a coach at this time of year.
Well, it's, your first year working in the pros at this level. You've got Manuel Malhotra as well as the head coach. And I remember catching up with both of you at a rink in Surrey before the season started. It was our intro kind of video for the Canucks. And now going from that point to being in the playoffs, nearing the month of June, just on a personal level, what has the entire season felt like for you? This is your kind of your first really real dip at the pro level. It's also in your home province, just the experience, and was it kind of been to a certain extent thrown in the deep end a little bit because pro hockey is a new experience? And how has it felt throughout?
It's been great. Like I wouldn't say it's felt uncomfortable. It's just, I don't even want to speak on the whole season because we still have a lot to do. So while I'm in it, it's been good, and that feeling just makes me want to keep it going. So in terms of the feeling, I just keep telling myself if I want to do this for the next 30 years, I might as well get comfortable now. So even being on the bench in these close games, like you can react, you can your emotions can go up and down, but I go at some point I'm going to be in every scenario you could think of as a coach. And this year I've been fortunate enough to be in a lot of different ones, when early in the year when we were up and down, and then, we had all the success and even in the playoffs, a couple elimination games. So for me, it's just mentally building that confidence, knowing that it might be the first time I'm in this situation, embrace it, understand the feeling, because it's not going to be the last time. So for me, it's really just soaking in everything and not letting it fly by, just really absorbing like the feelings, the mentality, the game planning, because this is going to be a situation I'm going to be in at, a lot of times in my career.
Absolutely, just the start, not a bad way to start off the pro coaching career as well, getting a nice playoff run and getting that experience. But I don't have to tell you, the community, the Punjabi community, the South Asian community takes a lot of pride in the Abbotsford Canucks. You and Manny are doing a fantastic job. Jujhar and Arshdeep as well, and then of course Chico as well. The trainer is we need to give him a shout out as well. He's a part of the community. There's a lot of folks on social media that love what the organization's doing, loving seeing folks from the community thriving. I'm sure you're getting a lot of that feedback. Maybe you try to block it out at times just because you have a job to do. But like when you hear that love and that pride coming from the community, how does that make you feel?
Like you said, it's proud. I never thought, or you always envision being in the situation, and now you're in a spot where people are taking notice. It's good. And like we tell the players, act like you've been there before, take it in stride. Um, the players' emotions can go up and down. And even for myself, like it's a good feeling, but it's not over. So I haven't fully let anything really absorb. And I just keep telling myself we got a few more weeks and then I'll take a step back and really try to soak it in. But it's good. The support is at this time of year, to even be playing hockey this time of year is rare. So during games, that's when you really feel it, the electricity in the building and all that good vibes that our fans are bringing. So in between, you kind of block it out, but when we step on the bench for those game days, it's a fun feeling for sure.
All right, I want to get into the game plan just a little bit before I let you go here. You got the Texas Stars coming up. If the Abbotsford Canucks are going to beat this team, if you guys are going to beat them, what do you have to do well in the series?
We got to set the tone right off the bat in terms of executing our game plan, being physical. We have to play your typical or not Canadian, your typical playoff style. It's got to be fast. It's got to be physical. We're really going to rely on our fans to get the energy going, and that's what we're going to do. We're lucky to start at home, and we got to take advantage of that.
All right, Harry. Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I believe this might be your first or second time on Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi. So we've talked about you, but I think this might be the first interview. Appreciate it, and you're welcome anytime.
No, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can do this again in a few weeks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, there you have it, Harry Mahesh of the Abbotsford Canucks, assistant coach. They're trying to head towards the Calder Cup, and obviously, a lot of folks in the Metro Vancouver, Abbotsford area are hoping for that too. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you thought of the interview, and make sure to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.